Hey everyone, it's Furry Facts here, and today we're diving into a topic that might make you look twice at your furry best friend. We're talking about those subtle signs that your dog might not be feeling the love. And believe me, I know that's a tough thought, but don't hit that unsubscribe button just yet. We're not here to spread doom and gloom. Think of this video as a helpful guide to understanding your dog's behavior a little bit better. Just like with any relationship, communication is key, and sometimes our furry pals have unique ways of letting us know how they're feeling. So, if you've ever wondered, does my dog really love me? Stick around. We're going to explore 10 signs that could indicate your dog needs a little extra love and attention. And hey, even if you see a few of these signs, don't worry. It doesn't mean all hope is lost. We'll also talk about ways to strengthen your bond and build a happier, healthier relationship with your canine companion. You know how when you lock eyes with someone, it can feel like a real connection? Well, for dogs, it can be a little different. While we might see eye contact as a good thing, prolonged eye contact can actually make dogs feel uncomfortable or even threatened. It's like staring down an opponent. So if your dog avoids your gaze, it might not mean they're giving you the cold shoulder. They could just be trying to tell you they need a little space. Now, I'm not saying that every time your dog looks away, it's a sign of impending doom. It's all about context. If you notice your dog consistently avoiding your eyes, especially when you're trying to show them affection, it could be a sign that they're feeling a little stressed or anxious. And just like us humans, sometimes dogs need a little time to decompress. Give them their space, let them chill out, and I'm sure they'll be back to showering you with love in no time. After all, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Let's be real. We all know a wagging tail is usually a good sign. It's like a furry little metronome keeping time with their happiness. But what happens when that tail stops wagging? Should you be worried? Well, it's not always a reason to panic, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. A dog who's feeling indifferent or unsure might not wag their tail as enthusiastically as a dog who's over the moon to see you. Think of it this way. If you ran into someone you knew, you might give them a polite smile and a nod, but you probably wouldn't break out your best dance moves. It's the same with dogs. A low wag or a complete lack of tail movement could be their way of saying, "Hey, I see you, but I'm not really feeling it right now." Again, it's all about reading those subtle cues. Okay, this one might sting a little, but sometimes our furry friends aren't in the mood for cuddles. I know, it's hard to believe. But just like us, dogs have their own personal space preferences. Some dogs are total cuddle monsters, always down for a good snuggle. Others, well, they're a little more independent. Now, if your dog suddenly goes from cuddlebug to completely avoiding your touch, it could be a sign that something's up. Maybe they're not feeling well, maybe they're feeling a little overwhelmed, or maybe they just need a little space. The key here is to listen to your dog's body language. If they stiffen up, pull away, or show other signs of discomfort when you try to pet them, give them some breathing room. Forcing affection on a dog who's not feeling it will only make things worse. Chapter 4: Lone Wolf, Why Your Dog Isn't Following You Around. We all love the image of a devoted dog following their owner everywhere they go, right? It's like having a furry little shadow. But let's be honest, sometimes we all need a break, even from our furry best friends. So if your dog isn't glued to your side 24/7, don't take it personally. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't love you. Some dogs are just more independent than others. They might enjoy their alone time, exploring the house, or just chilling out in their favorite spot. Of course, if your dog suddenly goes from being your constant companion to completely avoiding you, it's worth paying attention to. It could be a sign that they're not feeling well, they're feeling stressed, or there's been a change in their environment that's making them uncomfortable. Chapter 5. Excuse me, are you talking to me? Decoding doggy disobedience. Alright, let's be honest, we've all been there. You call your dog's name and they just stare at you with those big, innocent eyes as if to say, "Who? Me?" It can be frustrating, right? But before you assume your dog is deliberately ignoring you, remember, they don't speak our language. Sometimes what we perceive as disobedience can simply be a case of miscommunication. Maybe they're distracted, maybe they're not feeling well, or maybe they just haven't learned that particular command yet. Now, if your dog consistently ignores your commands, it could be a sign that they're not feeling engaged with you. Just like humans, dogs need mental stimulation and positive reinforcement. If they're not getting enough of either, they might start to tune you out. Chapter 6. Playtime? No thanks. When your dog doesn't want to play, playing with our dogs is one of the best parts of being a pet parent, right? It's a chance to bond, have fun, and let loose. But what happens when your furry friend just doesn't seem interested in playing? Well, it's not always a reason to panic, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. Just like us, dogs have their off days. Maybe they're feeling under the weather, maybe they're tired, or maybe they're just not in the mood for fetch. But if your dog consistently refuses to play with you, it could be a sign that they're not feeling as connected to you as they used to. Think about it. Playing is all about interaction and bonding. If your dog would rather take a nap than chase a ball with you, it might be time to reassess your relationship and see if there are ways to strengthen your bond. Okay, this one can be a tough one to swallow. You love your dog unconditionally, you treat them like royalty, and yet they seem to gravitate towards everyone else. It's like they save their best behavior for the dog walker, the mailman, and that friendly neighbor you barely know. So what gives? Why does your dog seem to prefer other people? Well, it's not necessarily a sign that you're doing something wrong. Dogs are social creatures, and they're naturally drawn to new people and experiences. It's like that friend we all have who's always the life of the party. They just have a knack for making friends wherever they go. Now, if your dog completely ignores you in favor of other people, it could be a sign that they're not feeling as secure or comfortable in their relationship with you. You know that feeling when you walk through the door after a long day and your dog greets you with unbridled enthusiasm? It's like coming home to your own personal cheering section. But what happens when your furry friend doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet when you walk in? Should you be worried? Well, it depends. Just like humans, dogs have different energy levels. Some dogs are naturally more low-key than others. They might greet you with a wag of the tail and a happy sigh, but they're not exactly jumping for joy. And that's perfectly okay. It doesn't mean they're not happy to see you, but if your dog consistently ignores you when you come home, or their greetings have become noticeably less enthusiastic, it could be a sign that something's up. There's nothing quite like snuggling up with your furry best friend at the end of a long day, right? It's like having a living, breathing teddy bear. But what happens when your dog prefers to sleep in their own bed? Does it mean they don't love you? Not necessarily. Just like humans, dogs have their own sleep preferences. Some dogs love the feeling of security and warmth that comes from snuggling up with their humans. Others prefer to stretch out and have their own space, and that's perfectly okay. Now, if your dog suddenly starts avoiding sleeping near you after years of sharing a bed, it could be a sign that something's changed. Maybe they're not feeling well, maybe they're feeling anxious, or maybe there's been a change in their environment that's making them uncomfortable. We all love a good cuddle with our furry friends, but what happens when your dog shies away from your touch? It can be heartbreaking, right? You just want to show them love and affection, but they seem to want to keep their distance. So what gives? Well, before you assume the worst, it's important to remember that dogs experience touch differently than humans. What might feel like a gentle pat to us could feel like an overwhelming sensation to them. And just like humans, dogs have different tolerances for touch. Some dogs are perfectly content to be petted and cuddled all day long, while others prefer to be touched on their own terms. Now, if your dog suddenly becomes averse to touch after years of being a cuddle bug, it's important to pay attention. Well, there you have it, folks. 10 signs that just might mean your dog needs a little extra love and attention. But before you start questioning everything about your relationship, remember, these signs aren't meant to diagnose a problem. They're simply meant to help you understand your furry friend a little bit better. Just like with any relationship, communication is key. Pay attention to your dog's body language. Listen to what they're trying to tell you. And don't be afraid to seek professional help if you're concerned about their behavior. Remember, even if you've seen a few of these signs, it doesn't mean your dog doesn't love you. It just means there might be some areas where you can improve your bond. Spend quality time together, engage in activities you both enjoy, and shower them with love and affection, when they're receptive to it, of course. With a little effort, you can build a stronger, happier, and more fulfilling relationship with your canine companion.